Hey friends, thanks for joining me today. I'm working on my third page in my board book art journal. And I always start by sanding off the glossy pages because whatever you put on needs something to stick to. And if it's glossy, yeah. So that's matte gel. I like to start with collage pretty much every time. For me, it kind of breaks that blank page barrier of getting started. And so I also try to include things that are kind of personal to me. I mean, nobody else would probably know, especially because a lot of it does get hidden, covered up once by the time the project is finished. But these are, like this map is of a town that I just visited a week ago when my parents came to visit. And we went to the Titanic Museum, and those tickets that you see that I'm tearing up are your ticket into the museum is a boarding pass of a name of someone who was actually on the Titanic. And as you go around, you try to see if you can find your person, and it gives you a little bit of a biography about them. And, whether they're first class, second class, if they're a crew, whatever. And at the very end of the museum, they have a list of everyone who survived and those who perished. So you kind of get to see whether or not you survived. I think it was a really cool way of getting you to just to relate and connect to real people on there. So anyway, it was really fun. But I like using things from my real life as I start my collage. There's also like a Bible study checklist I'm going through on there. A map at one of the places we stayed, I think. Yeah. So after I kind of decoupage on my collage, I dry it or wait for it to dry and use sandpaper to smooth out the edges. So it's what you see is pretty self-explanatory. So my next step is modeling paste. This is when I get stencils out. Now you can also just goop modeling paste on a page and then drag different things through it or stamp into it to create texture. I've done that too. But here I am playing with some stencils. And I think I just got this set from Amazon. I changed my mind here. You can change your mind. That's, our prerogative. I like to put a little piece of tape down just so I've got kind of an extra finger anchoring it. I use what is that called? Spatula knife, craft knife. What is that called? You all know. Palette knife, that's what it's called. And then an old credit card to just smooth everything out. Those are actually the old fake credit cards they used to send us in the mail all the time. For some reason, way back when, like 20 years ago, I just started collecting them all thinking, oh, someday I'll do some kind of craft project with these. Well, this is what I'm using them for now. I tend to like designs that kind of bleed off the page. So things that come from the edge and go into the page. I'm just using a corner. I like to get out my watercolors next, and after the stencils dry, and just start adding color. You can also use sprays. I know they make kind of a powder dye where you sprinkle the powder on and then spritz it with water. There's a lot of things you can do at this stage. You can just use regular acrylics, which I believe I get some out here in a minute. And yeah, just play around. So one thing I think is kind of interesting is that maybe it's already sticking out to you, but as I was doing this, I did not notice the dark lines of the boarding pass that I was telling you about, how they kind of stick out on the page quite abruptly, actually. I'll do something about that at the end, but it's funny how when you go back and watch your video, or I've noticed also just taking pictures, sometimes you look at the flat picture and there's something about the 2D rather than 3D that helps your eye pick out things that maybe are missing in your mind, like, or that you want to change or fix, you know. Anyway, I wasn't really liking how the paint was not doing what it was supposed to be doing. I didn't say that grammatically correct. Sorry, teachers. I didn't like how it was not, the bubble wrap wasn't giving me a crisp bubble look. It just kind of got muddied out. But by taking just a little bit of acrylic paint on the brush, not too much, and lightly brushing over the stencil part, gave it a little bit more definition. I like to use as much just random stuff I find. So like this is just a cork from a wine bottle. To me, there's something very almost redemptive about just reusing stuff that would be trash. I think this little hair roller thing wasn't working very well, and I didn't really want to add more paint. I was just trying to make some little light streaks, and you can't really see them very well. That's okay. So you just experiment. But I like using things like that. I think I pulled that out of the Goodwill bins just for texturing. So next I get acrylic markers out. The set that you see at the bottom is a set that I got from Temu.com. It's a real cheap website that takes kind of a long time to ship, and some of the quality is really cheapo, but these acrylic markers have been really good. I like them a lot. And then of course Posco markers, which you can get at Target, Walmart. This is kind of the phase that I like to, turn on. A lot of times I listen to dry bar comedy and just listen and let my creative mind just take over and fill in the space. Don't overthink too much, just have fun. I just think, what's next? What colors? So this white pen that I'm using is a Uniball Signo that I use for all my white marking needs. It works so well. Writes on just about anything. I like a lot of detail in my pages. I like to just keep going and going until I just feel like I can't do anything else. And so it's just a style preference. And this is the part that I can just get lost kind of for hours. So these flowers, I don't know if they still sell them. I'm sure they may sell something very similar, if not the same things, because I've had these for years in my old scrapbooking collection of supplies. But the colors matched perfectly. And I thought, oh, that'd be a nice little embellishment. So I just glued those on there. And my eyeball likes groups of 3 or odd numbers. So I always try to balance things out with odd numbers. And then I was looking for a sentiment to put on. I found these at the Goodwill bins. It was an old calendar or planner that had divisions with little sayings or Bible verses. And so I just ripped all them out and bought them. So I chose Give Thanks because the Facebook group I'm a part of for this month has a theme of thank you is actually the theme, but giving thanks is a way of saying thank you. I'm thankful for a lot of things in my life. Okay, this is where you can see kind of the lighting change because it was quite a bit later. I thought that I was all done with the page, and then I looked, and I think I might have even edited the video, this first part of the video, and then I looked at the end and I thought, oh my goodness, these brown lines are so ugly. They just popped out at me at the end. So I decided to go back in and cover them up with some more little doodles. Nice little balance of little bumps. So after a layer of Mod Podge, and I believe this dried overnight, and now I'm using natural light, so it looks a little brighter. You can see it's a little more vivid. And that is my page. I hope you enjoy.